Join the Comgiverse Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes access, and special perks. Support the channel and connect with a community of revolutionary intellectuals and scholars. Click the link in the description to join now.
We're up, we're up, we're up, we're up.
Karmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say? Anything that you'd like to say to the victims, to the family of the victims? Why were you armed, sweetheart? Karmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
Excuse me.
Karmelo, you'd like to say?
I had to browse my
Karmelo Anthony's release sparks outrage amid claims of self-defense and media backlash. Karmelo Anthony, the 17-year-old Frisco Centennial High School student accused of fatally stabbing fellow student Austin Metcalf at a track meet earlier this month, walked out of Collin County Jail on Monday after a judge slashed his bond from $1 million to $250,000. His release, framed by supporters as a critical step toward vindication, has ignited fierce debate, with portions of the media, particularly conservative commentators, lambasting the decision as premature and politically charged. Self-defense claims gained traction. Judge Angela Tucker's ruling emphasized Anthony's lack of criminal history, strong community ties, and academic record as reasons for reducing his bond. The teen, now under house arrest with an ankle monitor, maintains he acted in self-defense during the April 2nd altercation. According to the arrest affidavit, Metcalf, a Frisco Memorial High linebacker, confronted Anthony under a tent during a weather delay, demanding he leave the area. Anthony warned Metcalf not to touch him, but when Metcalf allegedly grabbed him, Anthony stabbed him once in the chest before fleeing. Witnesses reported Anthony crying hysterically and asking if Metcalf would survive. Details his defense argues underscore his remorse and fear in the moment. Every Texan has the right to defend themselves when they reasonably fear for their life, said defense attorney Mike Howard, who called the bond reduction a fair acknowledgement of Anthony's constitutional rights. Howard hinted at a deeper narrative of provocation, vowing that the truth will come out as evidence is reviewed. Community support versus grieving family. The courtroom split starkly during Monday's hearing. On one side, Anthony's family, friends, coaches, and even a work manager testified to his character, painting him as a star athlete, devoted brother, an aspiring college student. An online fundraiser for his legal defense surged past $415,000, signaling broad public sympathy. On the other side, the Metcalf family wept as the ruling was announced. Austin, described by his father Jeff as a National Honor Society member with a 4.0 GPA and college football dreams, died in his twin brother's arms. This was going to be his year, Jeff Metcalf said, mourning a loss he called permanent and profound. Additional documented examples of racially differential media portrayals. 1. The O.J. Simpson trial and the sympathetic framing of white offenders. During the O.J. Simpson trial, a case that captured nationwide attention, certain segments of the white media employed a softened tone in discussing Simpson's personal background. Influential columnist John Katz, writing for Wired in 1995, noted that despite overwhelming evidence implicating Simpson, his portrayal frequently stressed his past as a celebrated athlete and a tragic figure, burdened by personal and social pressures. Katz argued that such framing allowed audiences to view his alleged misdeeds as anomalies, rooted in personal vulnerability rather than as inherent criminality. In contrast, when similar crimes involve black individuals, media coverage is more apt to emphasize generalized stereotypes or even animalistic imagery. This disparity not only shapes public sympathy, but also contributes to an enduring narrative that separates white criminals from the broader category of thugs or inherently dangerous offenders. 2. Linguistic imagery and stereotyping in coverage of crime. Academic research has consistently found that the language deployed by mainstream, often predominantly white-owned media varies significantly along racial lines. One study documents that while white offenders might be detailed with nuanced backstories expressing remorse or situational stress that humanizes their transgressions, reports on cases involving black individuals often deploy dehumanizing terms that evoke images of brutes or thugs are disproportionately applied to black victims or even black suspects. Researchers argue that this selective language choice not only diminishes the perceived humanity of black subjects, but also shifts blame onto them, even when they are the victims of systemic violence. Such patterns are symptomatic of an underlying bias in media portrayals that values white life more sympathetically than black life. 3. Media narratives and the vector of innocence. Studies on media representation, including analyses of news, images, and articles, highlight a clear trend. White narratives often hinge upon clear, emotionally charged tropes, such as the damsel in distress or the fallen hero, which invite readers to empathize with the individual. For example, research comparing coverage across major outlets such as the New York Times and Fox News indicates that white subjects involved in criminal events are more frequently humanized by focusing on their family ties, personal history. In contrast, when black individuals are involved, whether as victims or accused, the coverage tends to emphasize broader, dehumanized group characteristics rather than any individualized traits. This vector of innocence approach in white media, where a clear narrative of vulnerability is constructed for white subjects, further marginalizes black narratives, making the latter appear as part of a homogeneous, criminalized other. Implications for public perception and justice. The consequences of these imbalanced portrayals are profound. When white criminals are frequently given the benefit of the doubt via language that humanizes them, their actions can be contextualized as unfortunate deviations from societal norms. Conversely, when black individuals, whether as victims, suspects, or collateral figures in crime stories, are routinely described using pejorative stereotypes, it reinforces a public narrative that implicitly supports racial inequity. This media bias can then seep into broader discussions surrounding criminal justice policies, where perceptions shaped by skewed reporting influence both jury decisions and legislative reforms. In sum, these documented examples lend credence to the argument that the media, in certain contexts, applies a racially differential lens, granting white subjects more individualized, empathetic portrayals while reducing black subjects to the confines of negative stereotypes. This not only perpetuates injustice in the court of public opinion, but also hinders the broader societal efforts toward racial equity. White media fury and racial undertones. Anthony's release has drawn blistering criticism from conservative media outlets, many of which have weaponized headlines to paint the teen as a remorseless killer and cast doubt on the legitimacy of his self-defense claim. Among the most inflammatory examples, teen killer Karmelo Anthony appears stone-faced as he is hit with brutal question after being freed from jail. Brittany Chain, senior news reporter for DailyMail.com, teen charged with murdering Austin Metcalf granted house arrest. A fundraiser for the alleged killer has brought in more money than a fundraiser for the victim's family. Amanda Prestiacomo, DailyWire.com. Alleged Austin Metcalf killer released on bond. Peter DeBrusca. Critics argue that these headlines are not just racially coded, but overtly biased, dehumanizing a black teen who has not yet been indicted. Civil rights advocate Dominique Alexander, present at the bond hearing, blasted the coverage. When a black child asserts self-defense, he's labeled a thug. When the system acknowledges his humanity, they cry foul, he said. The backlash has also extended to Anthony's legal fundraiser, which some commentators have portrayed as evidence of special treatment. Despite clear statements from his attorney that the funds are being used solely for legal costs, not to post bond, legal road ahead. The case now moves to a grand jury, which will determine whether Anthony will be indicted. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis has called for patience. We will go where the facts lead us. For now, Anthony remains under strict house arrest, barred from contacting the Metcalf family and only allowed outside his home with adult supervision under exceptional circumstances. As tensions simmer, the tragedy continues to expose deep divides within Frisco, a community torn between mourning and legal process, a justice system weighing constitutional rights against public outrage, and a media ecosystem where justice is often distorted by racial bias and political narratives. For Karmelo Anthony, the fight to prove his innocence, and for Austin Metcalf's family, the pursuit of accountability is only just beginning.
Join the Comgiverse Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes access, and special perks. Support the channel and connect with a community of revolutionary intellectuals and scholars. Click the link in the description to join now.